November 2024, gratitude month, Thanksgiving month. November was heavy. It was fast, and it was a mix of moments that I'll probably never forget. And some moments I wish I could, but that's life. At the start of the month, I flew to Ohio to support my friend, Stipe Miocic, the greatest heavyweight of all time, to prepare for his UFC heavyweight title fight and his first fight back in like 2 or 3 years against Jon Jones, and that was in New York at Madison Square Garden. But first, on November 2nd, I competed at a grappling match in Cleveland. I entered the absolute division, like I always do. But this time, I didn't tell anyone. I didn't bring any coaches or a corner. It was just a pop-out moment for me. I got a couple wins, one by submission, one by decision. And then I lost to my friend Emil Fisher, who's a black belt and the leader at Strong Style MMA where I train. So I didn't feel too bad. It felt good to compete again. It felt good to get that little spark of fear, the nerves, and the clarity that comes with facing someone across the mat you don't know. It wasn't just a jiu-jitsu match, but it was a gut check. I had to pull up to Northeast Ohio and see what I had. Later that day, I got to connect with my brother, tell him what I was doing. We went fishing. That's kind of a family thing. It's just a nice, quiet reset. And that night, I took my parents to the movies. We saw Venom. We're a big Marvel family. We love superheroes. And Marvel stories, superhero storytelling have always been a shared language in a family. And that night meant a lot to me. Also, while in Ohio, I've been able to connect with my homie Hesh over at Liberty Mortgage. He's one of my longtime friends and advisors. His Christmas decorations were going up. He does a great job for his team and employees. I watched him give one of his signature motivational speeches to his team, classic Hesh, and just loved every second of it. That's the office I work at when I'm back home in Ohio. Hesh wrestled at Oklahoma State under John Smith and with Randy Couture. And Hesh is a guy who also used to help me with my weight cuts back when I was younger, cutting 20, 30 pounds in a week. So it was a good start. By November 7th, I was back in the gym with Stipe, training alongside him, helping however I could. That weekend started with telling more people what I was doing. My homies Nad and Aaron, who were filmmakers for Stipe for the UFC. I told my friends Meg and Liz, my friend Dr. Eric, and my circle was starting to know that this comeback was real. They know my ex, and they were pretty surprised to find out with all the things I was sharing. I looked up with friends from college, buddy Shane, Spears, Beeves, got a call from my buddy Ryan McGraw on the phone too, and just told him what I was doing, and told them what the movement I was working on, what I was doing. It was like a homecoming. And when you come home, you gotta tell the gang what you're up to. So November 10th, I connected with iCryo. They were a sponsor for Cage Thunder, which is the promotion I was in talks with and was trying to lay the groundwork for. That all said, Stipe's fight week came fast. And November 11th was the final prep at Strong Style, working with, training partners besides myself like Big Walt. It's a big pressure fight, big expectations. November 12th, we flew to Cleveland. The team was on Delta, I was on Southwest. But we met up and got to laugh, joke, and reset before it all got real later that week. That day when we got there was media day for Stipe, wall-to-wall interviews, then he got his workout in, followed by a big team dinner and nonsense on the bus. And it felt good to be around all that again. Like, I hadn't told my coaches and team yet, but I was getting ready to fight again, and it felt good to be around that environment, those friends and that family. November 13th was picture day, and let me tell you, Stipe looked incredible. I still think he could beat Jon Jones on another day. He was sharp, he was focused. Got to hang with our mutual friend, Aaron Mendez, who's one of the best filmmakers I know. Got some vlog content up that day, dropped some stuff on my YouTube. You should be following my YouTube by now. And that night, we went to this banger restaurant, private restaurant dinner. I guess the membership runs like $20K. We were there on a Wednesday night, and it was slam, shoulder-to-shoulder energy. We were told Stipe's management is Vayner Sports, and Gary Vee happens to be one of the owners. It was crazy. Anyway, November 14th, press conference day, and then another team dinner back at the hotel. But me, I'm still building a brand and a business, so I had stuff to do, because this comeback just isn't about me just fighting. It's about legacy. And frankly, I hope my kids can do whatever they want one day. I hope my kids will work with me one day if they want to. If they want to be creative, if they want to be storytellers, I want to create that space and environment. Anyway, November 15th, weigh-ins. Stipe may weight easy. He's a heavyweight. There's no problem there. And that dinner felt special. We knew it was probably going to be Stipe's last dance, and it felt like that. Then November 16th came, fight night, Madison Square Garden. Before the event, I visited a longtime comic book. I'm a superhero nerd, so I went to this pretty famous comic book store in New York, bought a comic for the beautiful woman who gave me the puke bucket I told you about earlier with. And, got to give a gift. Got to, the brand's reciprocity. We got to reciprocate. Got a comic book hero that kind of reminded me of her and gave it to her. Haven't talked to her in a while, but I'm sure it's going fine. Anyway, that night, back to the fight. Stipe fought hard, but he lost. And we left it all in the arena that day. By November 20th, I was back in Denver. I went to the Narrator's Show, which is a show I performed on. Love doing stand-up comedy. Went to CD's Wings to check on the team. And as Thanksgiving approached, I started to hit a wall again in family and personal life. My son had a basketball camp, and I was told I couldn't go. But I did my research, and I found the camp online, and I showed up low-key. And I saw a bunch of parents, and I asked around, and every parent said the same thing. No, it's not blocked off. You're welcome here. We're with our kids here all the time. So I brought my video camera, talked to myself, talked to other parents, because my kids weren't there. Frankly, it was weird. Later that day, we had our own Thanksgiving dinner at local Jones, and I didn't even know if they were going to show up because I've had things scheduled and canceled on me last minute before. So I didn't know if they would come, didn't know if they would not be. And regardless, they did come, and I was grateful. And it was still another month where access was limited, my time was taken, and clarity is nowhere to be found. And again, it allowed me to double down on the decision, even make it more clear that, I needed to fight again. I needed to fight in the arena for myself, and I needed to fight for my kids and the truth. And just was a moment of clarity of exactly why I got to do this. December 2024. December brought a lot, as the holidays do. It started with an announcement I was fired up about. I became a brand ambassador and commentator and interview person for Cage Thunder, an MMA promotion owned by my friend Randy Jarvis. I mentioned earlier, Randy and I used to teach together, and the role gave me a lot of energy. It felt like I was back in the Ohio MMA space and just back in that community, which is dope. When I came back to Colorado, I knew it was time to level up. I had been grappling consistently, but I needed to do more striking. I had gone a couple months of boxing at Arsenal with Danny on the bags and hitting pads, but I had not hard sparred in a long time, so I jumped back into it. And in December, on December 16th, I was in Strong Style, and I had my first hard sparring session in years. My training partners are my guys and friends, Big John and Jesse. They're both big, they're tough, they're intense, they're heavy. And sparring at Strong Style is different, y'all. Like, if you've been, you got to fight for your life in there sometimes. I was anxious, my nerves were firing up, but when you walk back in the house of the truth, like it just feels right. And that's what Strong Style is. It's the house of truth, and it feels like home. At the same time, when I was back in town for Cage Thunder, I also had the chance to reconnect with friends from the community, friends that want to support me. Had to reconnect with my guy, KJ Shaheen from Vision Care Specialist. I'm not wearing my glasses, but he hooked me up with my Meta Ray-Bans. And he's been a longtime friend. We connected years ago through the late Steve Hyman from East Coast Martial Arts. That legacy still lives on through my buddy Chad, who manages the gym. But like I said, I got to hook up with KJ, got an updated prescription. KJ hooked me up with some Ray-Ban Meta Smart glasses. I will say, as a user, I've had some tech issues with them. That's not KJ's fault. But creating content through the lens is a really cool experience, and just another way that I'll be telling this story kind of from the inside out. So some of the content you guys will see from me will be coming from my glasses. Leading into that fight night back in Ohio for Cage Thunder, I got to interview fighters and athletes on December 20th, and I was most excited for the main event fight that night, Dusty James versus Tony Castillo. And, the vibe that night just reminded me really what Ohio MMA is all about and why I really, really love this sport. December 21st was fight night, like I said. I got to co-host and serve as a ring announcer. Got to connect with my longtime friend, Jake Digman, and just the whole crew. It was a great night at the Canton Civic Center. It was packed, it was full of energy, and it felt amazing to be back and doing what I do. I had my parents and brother and family in town. I also visited Liberty Mortgage again, saw my buddy Hesh. Again, they were killing it with the Christmas decorations and whatnot. I think I saw him before I had my pie appointment at KJ's and whatnot, but it felt good to bounce between brands, business, and the fight world, because that's who I am. Then I came back home for Christmas after all that. And honestly, look, the holidays aren't fun. When I was married, I never had any say on what we did. I'd always get told where I had to go and what I was gonna do, and just didn't have much of an opinion or impact. And I don't remember exactly what I did for this past Christmas. I think I was supposed to go to a friend's house or something like that, but I think someone canceled plans at the last minute, and so I just kind of sat in stillness. For the first time in a long time, I found myself alone, just kind of sitting in the quiet at the house, no chaos, just me. And it wasn't a thing, I didn't cry, I didn't wallow in shame. Was happy to have a roof over my head and happy to have the strength to endure and to be alone. I'm a people person, but I love my solitude too. And so I sat in stillness, sat in silence, had to sit with the truth of who I've been and where I'm headed and why I need to keep going. And again, December is just like a holiday reflection around what I need to do and who I need to be.